By now you've heard countless reviews saying that this movie is absolutely terrible, and I'm here to mix it up and tell you guys that I really did enjoy this movie. Joker, Folie et Deux is about Arthur, who is struggling with his dual identity. He not only stumbles upon his true love, but also finds the music that's always been inside him. The film stars Joaquin Phoenix, Lady Gaga, Brandon Gleeson, Catherine Keener, Zazie Beetz, and Steve Coogan, and was directed by Todd Phillips, and he's done films like The First Joker, all the Hangover films, War Dogs, Due Date, and Old School. Joker 2. Now, when they actually announced this movie at first, I was really excited. The first Joker movie is one of my top favorite movies pretty much of all time. I literally have the poster out in the hallway in my house here, and I love to look at it all the time as I'm walking by because that film is an absolute masterpiece. Joaquin Phoenix is absolutely phenomenal in that movie, so I was really excited to check this film out. When they announced that it was a musical, I was very intrigued as that was something a little bit different. I was like, I don't know how they're going to pull this off. Then actually add Lady Gaga in there, and I was like, okay, she can sing. I think this could be really good. She's very artsy in her music and her craft, and I thought she would fit right in with this role as Harley Quinn. And I honestly can say and confirm that she does fit very much in the role here. Her singing is really good, which the singing in this movie overall is not bad whatsoever. Everybody can sing. The music is a lot to take in. I think when they actually announced this, you had people that were just kind of moaning and groaning, and then you had other people that maybe just kind of threw it off and said, hey, I only think there's going to be like 3 or 4 songs in there. They're kind of exaggerating. But no, this is a full-fledged musical, and I believe there's around 17 to 18 songs, if I'm not mistaken, in which I can understand where some of the songs wouldn't work for everyone, and I can't say that every song worked for me in this film because I don't think every single song was great. It's not like a big ballad that you're singing along to. It's telling the story, though, and I think if you actually listen to those words, you can actually understand the story and just kind of see where it's actually going. And really, with this film, just how Joaquin Phoenix is and how he prepared for this role. He's really bony and scrawny. He's in prison this time. The way that this film develops, I'm not sure what people were actually thinking in this film, because this film takes place in a jail. He's obviously incarcerated. He is not necessarily the Joker at this point. He's Arthur Fleck in this jail cell, and you're seeing the treatment of him in this jail and him going through his day-to-day activities. He meets up with Lady Gaga and doing the singing choir, and they kind of talk and they hit it off, and she's a super fan of him, and so that relationship kind of blossoms slowly throughout this film, and then obviously thrown in the music as well. But this has a element of actual imagination of what is really in his mind, and then the actual love story with him and Lady Gaga, that all comes obviously within the film as a big whole and centralized of him actually being loved, because throughout his life he wasn't really loved. He had a lot of problems obviously growing up, and he was abused, and you really see that in this film because later on in the film it turns more so into a court drama. And then also like a lot of psychological things that he's feeling in his mind. And this film really answers the question of, is he really the Joker or is he really Arthur Fleck? And that's really what this film is actually about, which I'm not sure what people were really expecting, because when you're in the jail cell like this, were you expecting him to break out of jail and just go wreak havoc on Gotham City and go crazy? I think that's what people were really thinking with this film. But this film is a little bit more grounded in that aspect, but it's also artsy as well, and it brings in all this music to really tell its story. And I think that's where people didn't really like this film, because also the fact that it is a lot more of a slower burn film. It's asking a lot from its audience to pay attention to the music and pay attention to different signs of Arthur Fleck and how he's actually feeling and just what his feelings are. You know, he goes through obviously in this jail, and he also gets beat in this jail as well, and he gets really harsh treatment. So there's a little bit of commentary towards that. But also in the courtroom is where we get a lot of emotion and raw emotion from the Joker himself, and really learning more about him and his private life, and then certain jokes that he had obviously being the Joker, and then seeing everybody in the crowd actually interact with him, and just this court case actually going on in which it's really telling the story. Obviously, he has murdered 6 people, and the fact that we're going through this court case, we are determining, does he have this mental illness? Who is he? Like, is the Joker really him, or is he just Arthur Fleck? Or like, who is this man? That's really like the big central theme of this film. The cinematography here is done extremely well. There is several shots where Arthur Fleck is actually in the back of a cop car, and then they show the overlooking of the city, which those shots are really great and just a great scheme of things, kind of putting it in perspective. Like, he's just this one man, he's in this big city, and he has like such a following, which you see when he's actually in the courtroom. Outside the courtroom, just everybody going nuts. Looks like a riot's gonna break out. There's support for him. There's people that don't like him. And also in the jail as well, the color schemes outside of the jail cell, just how confined he is in this jail cell. And then just some of the shots that really show just like the costumes and really bring out the pop of those costumes. Even with the fact that obviously this is a musical, it does actually have some of the score from the original Joker, which I definitely recognized right away. And I was like, yes, they're bringing this back. This is making it seem very grand, and it just makes it really blend in with just like comfort of the original film. So it was cool that they actually brought that back and just, you know, sprinkled that into the film and just, you know, put that in perspective of just the film itself. So I really did like to actually hear that. And just the music, to me, you know, some songs didn't really maybe work for me, and maybe it switched up the tone a little bit, but overall I really did like what they really did with this film, and just something really different. You know, you never really get a superhero film, or in this case a villain, so to speak. You get to dive into this person's mind, actually learn about what they're actually feeling. You know, you got a little bit of that obviously with the first film, but you get even more of that. And that's what I really did like about this film, because it's really different. And the thing that I see on the internet all the time, and I'm gonna call out a few people here, you know, just on Twitter in general, because one of the things that I hear all the time in film, and everybody has their right to their opinion, I always see on the internet that people say, we always get the same thing, we get sequels, we never get anything different. And a good example of that is Disney. They just released their slate of movies. All of them are sequels. Well, Disney did 4 straight movies that were originals. They did Wish, they did Lightyear, they did Elemental, and they did Strange World. Nobody saw any of those movies. And because of that, we now get sequels. Now they're doing something different here with the Joker movie, something different, and it's doing bad at the box office and people don't like it. So when people complain on the internet that they don't like the fact that they're doing sequels over and over again, guys, no one's seen this movie, so because you're not seeing this, you vote with your wallet. So if you want something different, you have to support something different. Otherwise, these studios, they're just going to keep making the same kind of superhero films. And to me, I really did like this project. I think that it was a passion project. It was never meant to be like the first film. It was meant to be something on its own. It's something different. And I honestly think that people are taking for granted of just the creativeness of this film. Something different. I mean, did we ever think that we were going to get a musical? From a negative standpoint, also, I already mentioned obviously about some of the songs not working. There isn't a big characterization of Harley Quinn too much in this film. So if you're expecting a lot of that, you don't really get that. For Arthur Fleck here, obviously he is the big character. He is the one that you're following throughout this journey. So if you're looking for any other characters, for instance, obviously Harvey Dent obviously is in this film, there isn't any characterization with that. It's mainly just in the fact that we're in this courtroom, which I will say from a positive standpoint, I did like in the courtroom, we bring back a lot of characters from that first film. And even though I haven't seen that first film in probably a few months or so, I did remember all those characters. I was like, oh, there's that character and that character. I'm glad they actually brought them back. So it was really cool to see that. And within closing, as far as a score for this film, I would give it a 4 out of 5. I do want to talk now a little bit of spoilers. So if you don't want to know spoilers, click off the video. Thank you guys for watching. But now I'm going to get into spoilers because I want to talk about the ending. Now, with the ending, I've heard a lot of people say that the ending is terrible. Now, I just talked about this in another review for Speak No Evil. They made the Danish film, and in that film, the ending of that film, I'm not going to say it, but the ending of that film, it doesn't end happy. In this film, obviously, it doesn't end happy as well, but in Speak No Evil, the new one, they made it more of a happy ending, and they switched it up, which I said is more so what Americans usually like. Now they make a film like this, and they make the ending very much depressing, in which this movie is depressing, and they end up killing Arthur Fleck. To me, that was the right ending for this film, and the reason why I feel that is, one, this film is depressing. It does go into a character that did not have a good upbringing, did not have a parent that was very supportive, and really the parent is what really made up lies to make him feel joy, make him feel happy. He made up this persona to be the Joker. He was never really the Joker, which makes complete sense. And the fact that he's in prison, he's murdered these people, you can't really expect a lot as far as like action in this film, which obviously there wasn't. And to me, him being killed really honestly made sense because he wasn't the real Joker. And to continue this story along, they had somebody in the background that was following him throughout this movie, and he was in the background, and that's really the next Joker and the real Joker for whatever they're going to use him in future films. And then the fact also that there is a lot of foreshadowing in this film in which he gets shot by Lady Gaga, but also in this film obviously he gets shanked and he gets killed. But there's foreshadowing towards that ending, which makes a lot of sense as to why they went that route. They told you up front that he was going to be killed. If you follow the clues, you knew that he was going to get killed. And I do also think too, there is towards the end of the film where he actually escapes from the bombing and he goes up those long stairs. If you remember in the first film where he's dancing to the song, I can't remember the song name now, but he's going up those long stairs and he sees Lady Gaga and she doesn't want him anymore. I honestly think that she wasn't there and he was dreaming it. And I think a lot of this kind of element of him being in this relationship with her was very much made up in his head. Like he had this made up vision of him actually having a happily ever after. But we knew, the audience, in our mind that that was never going to happen. We knew that he murdered these 6 people. How in the world would he get out of this? The evidence was there. He killed Robert De Niro on screen. We saw it during the TV show that he killed him. We already knew that. And he killed other people. And we knew that. So to me, the ending of him being killed is the right ending based on what went down in this film. So to me, I'm not upset by it. It's a depressing story. It's meant to not have a happy ending. And if you think about it, if anybody in the real world, if they go out and kill somebody like this, they have a really crappy backstory, which a lot of those kind of people do. They usually have abuse and they don't have family members around to, guide them in the right direction. And that's exactly how this film is. He doesn't have anybody to guide him in the right direction. He had no friends. He had no one that loved him. And then when somebody presumably loved him, that's when he had this fantasy in his head. So I love to see that aspect. And to me, it all added up. And that's why I really like this film. It's unique, and it's a shame because we're not going to get another film like that. So those are my thoughts on this film. Let me know down in the comments, what you guys think about this film. Most of you guys hated it. I've gone through a lot of people's reviews and they have not liked it. So if you did like this film, definitely let me know in the comments. I would love to get on board and talk about, this film as a whole and how you feel about the ending. Do you feel it's the right ending? Do you feel it's the wrong ending? And if you could have done this movie different, or if you were expecting something different, what would have you changed? What were you expecting from this film if it wasn't this? I definitely want to know down in the comments. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.